live on YouTube. Go. I'm going live right now. I do not like when it does that. Okay, and we are live on Instagram. Perfect, 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 perfect. Hold on just a sec, you guys. Probably be a little loose. There we go. Makes it easier to move. Hey X, long time no see. So to everybody out there, hello, hola, konnichiwa, salam, ciao, namaste. Peace to all. This is the Pink Elephant in the Room conversation. And yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm doing well. I haven't seen you in a very long time, so it's good to actually talk to you right now. But for you guys out there, I just want you guys to know that what we're going to be talking about for today, and actually before we even start, for the people who are also on Instagram, this is the Pink Elf in the Room conversation. I do this daily. Well, not daily. I do this Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So if you guys want to tune into this, or if you're wondering when is this going to be and whatnot, I will make sure to give you guys updates like I do on Periscope and YouTube so you guys know when I'll be starting this or so. Um, but I'm gonna start doing it on here. I might even change the name of my Instagram to fit what I'm doing. Absolutely, right? So, without any further ado, this is what we're going to be discussing today. As you guys know, I put it for both Periscope and YouTube, but for the people on Instagram, we're talking about the system. So, you might be thinking, well, what about the system? So, I'm going to put it in perspective to you. You live in an interesting computer that has been created. And what you may call the people who you feel may be cruel or unusual in a sense, who created these systems and whatnot, what you may not understand is many of us feel that what the system is a physical playing field of what is created. The problem is that is far from the truth. The system you live in is more on a metaphysical or spiritual playing field that you may not understand. And the reason why you don't understand it is simply because you are you are infinite. And what you may not understand, inside you, you have cells, as you may know. You have blood cells, you have white blood cells, you have red blood cells. You have all these cells. But what you may not realize about these cells is if you go deeper in them, there are many other things within those cells. And if you go deeper within that, there are many other things, and so on and so forth. It just keeps going and going and going and never stops. No one's going to tell you that because of the simple fact that many of us, especially when you talk about the scientific community, have not peered that far into a molecule to tell you what's inside it and then what else is inside what's inside it in a sense. So, how is your system created off of that in a sense? It's made by a systematic fact of what you are. You are a supercomputer. And you are connected to all of this. This planet is organic. It is what you call organic life. This planet is living, but you don't consider it living for the fact that you see it as, eh, it's an inanimate object, is what most people would say. But the problem is that's a very flawed statement because what you have to realize is what do you see within rocks? What do you see within metal and wood and everything else? You see it as an inanimate object, but what about the quartz? What about the nickel, the dimes that are in it? What about the atoms that are inside those materials? What do you think they're doing consistently every time? They are moving. The problem with you believing they're inanimate is you don't see them physically moving as you are moving. You don't see them moving your hands, moving your head just like that. So you think of it as simply it can't be it can't move, so it's inanimate. But the problem is it is moving on a different vibrational wavelength in comparison to you. Now, we were talking about the matrix and how to understand it, I believe, about 2 weeks ago. And for you guys who want to learn more about that, you can also check that out on YouTube on my channel Soulology. Um, if you want more info, I don't know if one of you guys, if you want me, matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and put that on there just to make it clear for you guys out there. If you want to check it out, and if the like I said, if this resonates with you in any way, don't hesitate to subscribe, don't hesitate to like, and please comment because of the fact that I want to know your ideals and thoughts to add on to what is being discussed. But to add on to what I was saying, you are being put in a system that is metaphysical. And the reason why you are so affected, in a sense, by it, the reason why you are consistently doing the same thing or wondering, why can't I get to where I desire to go, is because you are not peering into that system and seeing it for what it is. This again leads to what I was saying earlier in the last conversation we had, that the system is, in a sense, like a blade, like a double-edged sword. It can harm you or help you. That's your choice on how it works. It can help you because if you understand it, you can use it as a tool that is beneficial to who you are. It can harm you because if you don't know how to use it, well, it could cut you. So the question is, how do I peer into this system? You peering into the system is very simple. You have to first understand your body and who you are. Looking at you, your system and what you are capable of, you see that you are just what they call a human. And as a human, you only believe you are able to do what other humans are capable of doing. What do I mean by that? You believe that you can be only smart to a certain extent, that your body can only work to a certain extent, that you can only do certain things to a certain extent, but there is a flaw in that entire statement. You see, then you have people who have somehow, okay, perfect. And by the way, to you guys out there, for Insomniac, you say he was gonna subscribe. Thank you so much, by the way, bro. Long time no see. And if you want to talk more to me, please talk more to me on here, or you can always message me. You already know I'll talk to you anytime. um, you have to realize the system within who you are. How do you realize that? You have to, like I was saying, we as humans believe that we can only do a certain amount of minuscule things, and that is all we believe we are capable of. And there is a flaw in that statement. You see, because you are capable of much more than you perceive yourself to know or be able to believe, in a sense. We consider that what people are saying that is imaginary, in a sense, cannot possibly be a real way of creating who we are as a human being. But there is a flaw in that statement. What is the flaw of that statement? The flaw is simply you have too many people who have manifested things. And you will say to yourself, maybe perhaps to some people, that that is just coincidence. That's impossible, however. You have had too many children who have remembered past lives of other people that they feel deeply connected to, some that don't even live on the planet, and yet here they are connected to it. And you will say to yourself that that probably isn't real, and that is still another flawed statement. you will say that people cannot use abilities, whether it's using elements such as fire, water, earth, wind, being able to levitate, fly, being able to understand certain elements. But there's a bigger flaw even in that statement. The problem is you are looking from your physical and not from your full ability of what would be called the triune, the triangle, whatever you want to call it, the three-part being of who you really are. And it's good to see you. How are you doing, by the way? You have to realize that you're not seeing it from the three-part being of who you really are. You are a body, mind, and soul. You see only body and, of course, mind. And that is the only thing you see, thinking that those are the only authentic things that are real. Because there are some people, of course, who do, and some people who don't believe there is a soul. There are some people who believe the soul is in here, or in here, or something like that nature. What even that is a flaw. And here's where I'm going to set it from the system of what you're creating. The soul is literally everywhere. That's good to hear. By the way, we need to catch up more because we haven't talked in a while. I wanted to check to see how you're doing, by the way. Um, you have to realize the soul is everywhere. It is everything. Now you might be thinking, how is it everywhere? So I'm going to give you a detail of an experiment I had tried about a few months ago that had shown me how far how it really goes. When you are, for example, meditating or you are trying to get insight of who you really are, you see, if you look at this very closely, what I call the shadow effect. Put your hand, put a light or something, kind of like the light you see right here. And if you look behind me, if you can see right behind me for the people on YouTube and Instagram, I know you guys can't see it, so I'm gonna tell you both of them. If you can see right behind me, there's an outline of my shadow right here. Now for the people on YouTube, what I would call the shadow effect. I'm sorry, on Instagram, sorry. What you can do is put a light that is above you, put your hand right there, and you will see your shadow and you will see an outline of the shadow. That is a bit of what you can see. You consider it your aura, it is actually your soul. But then the question still remains, how is my soul everywhere? Your soul is everywhere because, truth be told, the more you focus in understanding that aura, the more you'll realize it goes out like a wave. It is energy, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, that it literally spews itself out. That's how amazing you are. It is, in a sense, maybe you would think of it like a gas, but it's not even a gas. It's just, it's there. It's a part of you. So it is constantly and consistently waving as part of the whole. And the part of the whole would be your planet. But the interesting thing is, it's not even your planet, because the whole goes from your galaxy. It's not even your galaxy then. The whole becomes many galaxies. It's not even many galaxies. The whole would be the universe itself, and then so on and so forth, because then we're talking about the multiverse, and then the omni-multiverse, and so on and so forth. It just expands and keeps expanding more and more. You are all that energy. And what I love to tell people is, what they find in your universe, they find on the moon. What they find in your moon, they find in a tree. What they find in a tree, they find in you. So, what does that say about you? That says you are much more than you perceive yourself to be. So, when you are talking about nobody can be psychic, that's impossible. There have been actual experiments done on that. Your third eye is a conductor to that. Your third eye, and to press on about it, you have to realize, first of all, you have to decalcify your third eye in order to make it work. Your body is a supercomputer. That being said, like any supercomputer or any engine in a sense, you have to make sure all the gears are working correctly in it. And when you cleanse what is necessary, that means you have to realize the water you're drinking as part of the system you're in right now. The system you're in, make sure to calcify this right here. This is a crystal-like area. And the brilliant thing about this, and I never knew this until a few days ago, is the fact that that crystal, what most people don't realize about crystals, they keep memory. Crystals hold an infinite amount of hard drive in comparison to what you consider um, that you know as a terabyte or a gigabyte. You see that and you think, okay, well, like when you have a terabyte or a gigabyte, it has a storage of information that you can put on it. But nobody has really realized if you could learn how to use a crystal, you would have a large amount of infinite information you can put in it. And your pineal gland is exactly working the same way. It is a crystal like sand substance within itself that you can literally gain information from and put information of. But you need to decalcify it. It's also a conductor. So this leads into how exactly could I be a psychic or so on and so forth. You are a psychic because it's a conductor of other energy around you. Your soul manipulates everything because of who you really are. You can manipulate energy all around you. It's incredible how you are capable of doing that. Remember what I said earlier. It goes out like a wave. So what you have to realize about that, how can I be psychic? When you take a certain item, like I don't have anything on me, but if you have like, oh, here we go right here. You see this item right here. You see this. If I took this off, I'm not going to take it off now. You guys can't see it right here. For YouTube, you can, but Periscope, you guys can't. But if you take an item like this and you focus well enough and just put it right here, make sure it's straight, make sure your arms may be sitting on something. Try it. If you want to check it out, focus your energy and think of it just moving side to side. Something like this, pendulum or something, are back and forth. You may think, oh, well, that's not true or anything. Try it yourself and realize how capable you truly are of these abilities. You are a conductor. And when I was observing this, I did an experiment on it. One of the results of what I found was my own energy literally leaked on part of this item right here. I've done this with several items besides this with pendulums and so on and so forth, but it leaked onto it. Your energy, what you have to realize is when you see yourself as one with that, you just connect with it, you focus, and you see yourself making it move by thought, it will move. And this is not what I would say is something of Star Wars nature where you can just use the Force immediately. It takes time and practice. And the biggest rule I use for people when I talk about that is the fact that you have to realize that just like when you work out, you get stronger. And most people will not believe you in saying that you get weaker when you work out. They'll laugh at you. That what do you think happens if you work this part of who you are correctly? It actually gets stronger. But since most of us do not use this part, the third eye, which is in the center of the brain, you don't know how to use it. You don't use it. You haven't used it before, so you have no clue. We go by the status quo. And the status quo is a part of the system of what's been taught to you. That none of these things exist. That if we put certain movies, if we put certain comic books, if we put certain books, if we put certain information out that makes you see it, you'll think it's merely a fairy tale because the book's a fairy tale. So it's impossible for a human to be able to do those same things. But the problem is that you are going based off of what they called fairy tales. You are not actually experimenting yourself. You're not creating it yourself. You're not growing something from your own ideas, your own results. You have to realize that you can't go abiding by other people's laws and status quos about how things really are. You have to literally work out yourself and understand your world around you. Research, research, research. Always, because that's how you get to know your world. And on top of that, don't just research, really go within who you are. You may not realize it, but you have information coded into you. And this is one of the parts, I'm not going to go too much, but if you guys do want to check it out, I was talking to, I believe it's Insomniac, and then Ren, Rins, I wanted to tell you that if you want to check it out, I don't know if it's still on there for my Soulology thing. Um, Hold on, you guys. It's acting up. Okay, there we go. You gotta be kidding me. Will you stop doing that? Dang. Okay, there we go. If you haven't checked out my Soulology, I'm gonna be talking more about this, but for you guys out there, that crystal, and you have to understand, the smaller and smaller you get about your world, and I'm not talking about the planet you're on right now, but if you go deeper into whether it's the air, the oxygen, or your mind within, the smaller you get, there is what I would call a quantum string. I believe there's already a statement or a saying for this. There's a quantum string within it. This string is a string of literal information that is connected to who you are. And what is the conductor? The third eye, as you call it, or the pineal gland. Why, how exactly is it able to be that conductor? It is a crystal, and this is the impressive part. Again, it leads back to what I'm saying, you being the supercomputer. You have literally a strand of plugs that are connected to this conductor, and this conductor is able to put in large amounts of information in its own self. And not only that, we're gonna just get rid of that because it keeps pausing. There we go. We're gonna get rid of that. There was this thing was plugged in, but we'll get rid of that. But not only that, what you have to realize is it is not only able to plug you in from the information of the physical, but it helps you to remember what is in the metaphysical, as you would call it, what is beyond this dimension. This dimension is known as a physical dimension, but there are dimensions past this that are a part of you, that are connected to you, and what many people might call the source in the sense, some people, like I would call it energy. Um, Whatever you want to call it. But what you have to understand is this is connected to who you are as a person. You are able to get into this. So the question might be, well, then how am I able to get into this? You are able to simply get into this when you take time to yourself, when you meditate by yourself, when you go into nature by yourself, when you get to seriously know who you are by yourself. Whatever meditation is for you, whether it's cooking, whether it's going out skating, biking, walking, running, whatever takes you away and helps you focus and relax and be by yourself and understand yourself more, you will feel it. Maybe you might feel that you're talking to yourself, and maybe you think you might something might pop into your head, and you might think that's crazy. That how could that possibly be? And it's not crazy. You have to understand that you're being inspired. Everything literally plays a key role in you in being inspired into that information and understanding who you are. There are things that are at work like a snowball effect, and it allows you to know the information you need to know. Whether it's something you think that you couldn't understand because it doesn't exist on this planet, it's not that. You have to think from a higher standpoint, what I would call God logic. You can't, what most of us as humans think is on a terranistic or a human perspective. We don't see things past that because of the fact that we can't possibly see it because of what we've been taught, and that is okay. That is not our fault. That is all the information we've been given because of the fact that there's nothing else we've known. You can't know hot if you don't know cold. You can't know you can't know love if you don't know hate. It's impossible to know each side if you don't know the other. And the same thing goes with the information you know. You can't know information beyond who you are unless you know that you don't know information beyond who you are. You have to know both sides. And the way you can understand that is within self. You now know the information that is on this planet. So now you might ask the question, well, then how can I? And like I said, it goes within self. And like I explained, how does this work is simply by the crystallization of the pineal gland, the connection of the quantum strings that are part of who you are as a being, that connects you to everything, which you consider to be memory. And past lives is all connected to you. You are energy. You are infinite. You are matter, as they would say. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed. And that is really personally what you are. However, you are in the supercomputer that you call a body. So you see this body and you think it to be real. And it is real because you've made it real. But in retrospect, you are not this body. You are the soul, but you are using the ability of being a three-part being of body, mind, and soul to create who you are in the system. When you understand the system, you will understand the system outside. Go within and you'll never go without is the statement, the saying that most people go by. And it's a very brilliant statement. Because when you're going within self, understanding the source of energy, information of who you are, you can understand the outside. So the question might be, well, how is this going to help me get to where I want to go? Maybe some people might ask, or how is this even important in the first place? The question is, what do you choose? It all depends on you. It doesn't depend on me telling you what you should and shouldn't do, because I'm not the person who's going to tell you that. But what I can tell you simply is it all depends on your choices of whatever you desire out of life. Whether it's maybe you want wealth, maybe you want love, unconditional love, and you truly desire that. Maybe you desire to have your dreams come true, whether that's simply having children, whether it's simply getting the house you desire or the car you desire, or personally, maybe a certain item that you've been desiring. You connect yourself to that and it will happen. What you focus on will become real. So, one of the statements I use is what you resist, persist, and what you see disappears. Now, this can work backwards as well. What you resist persists. If you deny yourself the fact of how amazing you truly are, it will persist that you will be argumentative with the self of who you are, and you will, in a sense, you will downplay yourself, or you will not, in a sense, give yourself the credit that you need. You have to realize that if you truly knew who you were, you would smile a whole lot more. You would love yourself a whole lot more. You would give yourself more credit than what is stated because of the fact that you are an amazing being, capable of ridiculous things that most people don't even understand. And it blows my mind that we don't understand it. But you are capable of those things. So when you stop putting yourself down, there we go. That's what I meant to say. Stop putting yourself down. Love yourself for who you are. Even if you feel you're not where you need to go, you have to be willing to focus. Put your energy into that and it will happen. Even if it's not perfect. Even if you feel like I don't feel like I'm getting to where I need to go. Realize things take time. Patience comes to those who wait. Take time. Be patient with yourself. Even if you don't see results all the time, be patient with who you are. Because as time progresses, you will see those results blossom. You will see the fruits of your labor grow. But you have to be willing to put yourself forth and love yourself, connect to yourself, and you have to be. I'm gonna say this always, always, always. You have to not doubt yourself. One of the biggest things that disappoints me about the human species is we are a species that says one thing but does another. Be true to the choice you feel within yourself. If you desire to go on a path, even if no one else agrees, but you feel it's what you love, go forth and take it. You have to understand in this system that you're on. One saying I used to a friend of mine. Many of you guys know if you want to check out Holistic Roots for her channel. We've talked about this before, but I simply say that when oh, hey Rainbow Doll. When you talk about getting your dreams and going for what you love, You're going to have a lot of people who are going to bash you with a shield, like we're watching the movie 300. They're going to attack you, believing that it's not reasonable, it's not logical. And you have to understand this. How have you been, by the way? You have to understand that simply think of it like you are, in a sense, to some people, like a virus. And you might think, well, I'm not a virus, I'm not bad in this. And no, you're not. I'm not saying that. But think of it like that, and then see these other people who are telling you that what you're doing is flawed. They are like white blood cells. What do white blood cells do within your body? No, appreciate it. What do white blood cells do in your body? White blood cells attack things that are not a part of the body, that are not a part of the system. So, yes, you're going to have people who attack you like you're not part of the system. They're going to act that way because of the natural system that's being created right now. How do we change that system? Well, simply you go on your own path and simply do this. If you, for example, desire to give unconditional love to people, or be unconditional loving, is what I mean. How do you do that? Give it to another, and you will realize the unconditional love within who you are. This has been something that most people have recognized to some degree, but for we haven't seen it on the full playing field. You probably have heard this when it comes to wealth. That if you give wealth to another, you will eventually end up getting wealth. And that's a very true statement. But then your question might be, well, then how does that work exactly? Because what you're doing is simply this. When forget about wealth, let me just put it in a simple aspect. We'll go back to the unconditional love. When you're doing unconditional love, when you're giving that to someone else, you are seeing within self that you are being unconditionally loving, and you are now seeing the unconditional love within self, loving yourself, growing yourself, and giving that unconditional love to other people. And you just gave it to another. So now that person can see it within themselves and give it to another and another and another. What you see in others, you see in yourself. If you see unconditional love in others and you give it back, you will see it within yourself. If you see wealth within other people, and wealth does not mean all the time giving away money or something. Wealth could simply be, you have to understand the difference between having money and wealth. Wealth is having the freedom to have something. If you have something that you are not using and someone else needs it or desires it, give it away. Give it away to someone else, because you are now seeing that you have enough, because you were able to give away something that you had. I've done this several times when there's a person perhaps on the street, they're thirsty, and I realize I have a bunch of bottles of water in my car or at my house or whatnot, and I just give them one. Or food, where I just have plenty of food on hand, so it's just like, well, I don't really need to eat these things, I'll just give it to them because I have enough. Or if you have spare change in your pocket, perhaps, or some money, whatever you have, and you just give it because you know there's plenty, and there's then some that's going to come to you from the bank, then you realize that you have enough. You have to get out of the mindset that there is scarcity on this planet, because the truth is there is no scarcity. There is the thought process that has been put on this planet that there is scarcity on the planet, so there's not enough. There's not enough for us. There's not enough money. There's not enough food. There's not enough clothes. But the problem is, when we talk even, for example, about America, I've seen this before. And I'm pretty sure, Renz, you probably know this all too well, too. When I used to work for fast food, one of the things that hurt my heart was how much food was just thrown out. And we're talking about fresh food that was just thrown out. There's no such thing as not enough. Is the fact that we're not willing to share, and we would rather maintain by throwing away things that we can ultimately give to others and share with others and keep people in balance with themselves. But we haven't even learned how to give the basic items to every human being. And that is why, when we're talking about breaking that system and understanding it, in a sense, that you are capable of those things. It's very heartbreaking to see that we do that, because here's a perfect example. When we're talking, for example, about people from different countries, third world countries, who per se have no way of having good water. The problem with that is a flawed statement. That can actually be changed. The problem is there are people, again, and this is not everybody's fault, but people don't have the information. How can I make good water, clean water? If these third world countries were simply able to get the tools necessary, the information actually, to make clean water. Okay, Rainbow Doll says you can even see kids in schools throwing food away, free food. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. People are always throwing away food. When we're talking about the third world countries, all these third world countries, if given the information, could make clean water. If given the information to create what is necessary, it doesn't even matter what primitive tools or what metal or whatever they have on them, they would easily be able to make clean water. The food, here, like you were saying, for Rainbow Doll, she just said you can even see kids in schools throwing food away, free food. And this is the design that we don't, we believe that we could just simply throw things away, that it doesn't matter. And you have people who are constantly and consistently starving. The scariest thing to me is how, since you brought it up, scariest thing to me is simply how we will bring more people into this world instead of fixing the world we are, and we'll bring them in a world where we do the same thing on repeat constantly and consistently every time like this. And this is where, this is something that you have to learn, not only because our family might have taught us this to some degree, but this is where you have to be willing to learn within self to break the cycle of that system. That's a system even in itself, is that, oh, I can throw away food and whatnot, I'll just take one bite and it's okay. The reason you should take in all that information of food and stuff is because of the nourishment, for one, but understanding. Hey, it's good to see you. But all the information of the food and everything in the nourishment. Okay, Rainbow Doll also says that the food should be sent to shelters or anyone who may need it. And that's exactly what I mean. One of our systems is that we simply do not, we have, of course, you probably know this all very well, and for people out there, that we have rules and regulations that don't really allow us to give food to people, because we feel, in a sense, that it can cause what we say is a lawsuit, when this could be given to other people to possibly help them out in the streets. We haven't even gotten as far as trying to make sure there are homeless people who are taken off the streets to have their own jobs and stuff. And of course, we can say we are building shelters to find ways to help them with that, but we haven't extended it to the full source of making sure you can literally get pretty much everyone off the street. Everyone has what they need. Everyone is actually fed. Everyone has what is necessary for them to actually keep going on. And to you, Caviar, I want to tell you namaste as well. Giving people that ability as part of the system. We are still living in a primitive ideology where we believe in competition. We believe there are winners and there are losers. There's no such thing as that in truth. And the reason why I say there's no such thing is because look at your world around you, what it has caused. Winners and losers does not help in the end all be all of growing who you really are. So how do you change that? You change that by changing the way you do things. If everyone, and I want to leave this with people, if every person had what they needed and there were no winners and losers, how do you feel the world would be changed in a sense? Because personally, that to me would simply mean there would be no people who are starving. There would be no people with any problems, any issues, or etc., etc., but just simply people who are able to do what they desire. And when I say desire, that means seeing the wealth within self. Rin says, that's awful. We learned so much from our neighbors. And then we got Caballera, he says, let's meet soon. Oh, okay. No, okay. Yeah, we'll talk soon, no worries. No, and just like you said, absolutely. This is where you need to be willing to break that cycle and understand self. And the hardest part in the beginning is simply it starts with you. And what I will leave people with is simply this. If not you, who? Or better, if not when, if not now, when? If not you, who? You have to be willing to break that cycle and be able to start it, because once you break that cycle within self, you begin to find people around you. And when you find those people around you, and that's why I tell people be careful the company you keep, because you have to understand misery loves company. Rainbow Doll said it all just takes one step to push forward. Absolutely. And to add on to what you're saying, to what Rainbow Doll on Instagram is saying, it only takes one step to push forward. It does. It takes the first step for you to pass the system. And let me put this even further. Most of us are too terrified to go against your like I love the saying. Many of us are too afraid to go against our God. Many of us are too afraid to go against the status quo. And you are afraid because there are too many people who believe in other things that tell you this is the way the world is. But the question to me would be, how do you know? You only know due to what the world has told you. You don't know what's inside yourself. You've been learning things outside yourself. You have to realize, and I just said earlier, you have information in you. So why are you taking information outside? Do your research on top of that. You have all the abilities, all the capacity to create everything you desire. You literally have every resource you need. There is no such thing as not enough. There is no such thing as some people might feel they're not intelligent. You are intelligent. You have memories you can literally help you to grow who you are. If you feel you're not smart enough, if you feel you're not good enough, if you feel you're not getting to where you need to go, you need to go, excuse me, you need to go within self. You need to meditate. One of my friends on here, his name's Martin. He said this, and I love this saying all the time. Meditate. Don't complicate. You have to choose what you're going to meditate on to grow self and actually work towards what you desire in life. No one can stop you. Don't let what people say out there stop you. When you're more focused on who you are, you can change what goes on out there. It starts with you. If you want to change the world, you have to be willing to change yourself. If you want to be unconditionally loving to other people in the world, you have to be unconditionally loving to yourself. If you want to create something, then create it, even if it gets destroyed. You probably have heard this when we've said this before about Mother Teresa, in a sense, that if someone destroys something you made, create it again. If someone accuses you of something, um, keep loving again. Keep growing, keep loving, keep being. And then Rainbow Doll says there are no excuses. Thank you. There are no excuses. Keep loving, keep growing, keep being, keep just creating who you are. You are constantly growing every day, every moment, every waking hour. Even as time goes on, there's no even such thing as time. And you have to realize how amazing you are in this process. You are in an experience. You got Mani Love waving hi, and hi to you, Mani. You have to realize in this experience of who you are creating yourself now. Love who you are in this waking moment. Don't let someone stop you and tell you that you're not good enough, you're this, you're that, or anything. It's not up to that person. And the thing is, if other people, what most people don't realize is if other people say that about you, it's because they still have issues with themselves. So when they say to you, for example, that they don't feel you can do certain things that are your dreams, your goals in life, you have to realize that in your own love, they are still growing who they are and still trying to understand who they are. And that is a hard factor for a lot of people, that they are growing who they are. People are going to accuse you of things. People are going to tell you that you're wrong for this and that. But you have to understand that they are still growing. And on top of that, the biggest thing you have to understand is you're connected to everybody. So when you start understanding that unconditional love within self, you realize that person is really you. Perhaps maybe a wounded version of you, perhaps a person going through some things and whatnot. That person is simply you, who is trying to understand and love themselves. And that might not always be easy. And that's where you grow your unconditional love to people. Even if people feel you're naive, even if people judge you or whatnot, that one way or another, keep going, keep being, keep doing, keep growing. And we're going to end it here. Oh, actually, hold on just a sec. We got another statement from Rainbow Doll. She says, "It is always a learning experience no matter the age you are. We learn from each other." And yes, you do learn from each other, but to add on to what you say, life is not about learning for the people out there. Life is an experience that you create. Yes, you learn things along the way. That is very true to Rainbow Doll, what you said. But remember that you know all this information, and I probably will go a little more deeper into detail about that. The sixth sense of what you have within yourself, the sense of knowing that you know this information, and it doesn't take a genius, it doesn't take anyone, it doesn't take a person who's a mechanic, engineer, it doesn't take anyone to know how amazing you are from the inside. It takes just you to know that. Grow that within. And realize that you are beautiful, you are amazing, you are divine, you are magnificent. Remember, you guys, you are the gods, the goddesses, and the creators within. So, to everybody out there, I just want to say have a good morning, a great afternoon, and a fantastic evening. And we got one more message from Renz. Have a good night. Going on YouTube for another one of your videos. Nice seeing y'all. And it's nice seeing you too. Please, you guys, like support the channel and everything. Uh, like and subscribe. If you want to support me also, you can support on IGTV. We just released that. I put my first video up on there if you guys want to check it out. But like I said, if you feel this resonates with you guys, like it, heart it, heart it on Instagram, heart it on Periscope, like it on YouTube, subscribe to the channels, subscribe to the pages, and just know you are the gods, the goddesses, and creators within. So to everybody out there, have a good morning, a great afternoon, and a fantastic evening. Namaste.